I'm like a family. It's your brother, Landon X. This is NationTownTV live. Man, all praise due to Allah. We're going to deal with this topic today. We're dealing with the controversy in sports, the controversies in sports, but will it expose? Will it expose the game behind the game? What are we talking about on NationTown TV? What is the game behind the game? We're going to get into it. Let's get it.
Trio, trio, trio. So I'm like a family. It's your brother, Landon X. This is Nation Town TV live. And as you can see, we are dealing with today's topic, the game behind the game. What does that mean, brother Landon? We're going to get into that. But let me start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah. That's the proper way to do anything, to be honest. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Far Muhammad 9,000 miles by himself, the long awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. But let me be very clear that when I say that Muhammad is his messenger, I'm speaking of the promised messenger of the Holy Quran, where it says in Surah 16 and 36 that certainly a messenger would be raised for the people in every nation. I mean, it said every nation, as we say in certain parts of the country, every nation. Every nation. That means all of them. But also in Surah 44 and 5, it tells you that that messenger, that we are ever sending messengers. So those who believe that there are no more messengers coming, There are no more prophets coming. They done. This is not the day of prophecy. This is the day of fulfillment. But when I say messenger, at minimum, I'm speaking of none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, that great preacher of freedom, justice, and equality. But that's at minimum. He's in fact the exalted Christ, tasked with raising the deaf, blind, dumb masses of the people into the godhood, which is our nature, our nature. And I know his capabilities of doing that because he's done it many, many times over. You all worship and follow and celebrate his students, but you always overlook the man himself. But there's one master student that raises his name every time he speaks. I'm speaking of our divine leader, teacher, guide, and criterion in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in those three great names, I greet the Nation Town family in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Ice Salam Alaikum. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We see Sister Yasiel Joy. All praises due to Allah. Wa Alaikum Salam, dear sister. We're going to try to hit this hard and fast, as we always say. We don't intend to be on long, but we do intend to be on strong. In fact, we have to. But we're dealing with this topic right here. The game behind the game. On the flyer, I used the image of our beloved brother Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets. Our brother is going through a controversial source that's reminiscent of the topic of the very first. Now we're gonna see who really are the Nation Town TV followers. Some of y'all don't even know what the first topic we ever did. It was about 5 years ago. Myself and brother Malcolm Flex, aka Alfonso X, we did our inaugural episode was focused around the controversy of Colin Kaepernick. But here in 2021, the Colin Kaepernick of the moment is our brother Kyrie Irving, and that's due to the pestilence from heaven situation and the so-called vaccine. And I say so-called vaccine because vaccine has a very particular function that these so-called vaccines do not have. But y'all know what, Jeff. For those of you who don't know, let me explain something to you. Nation Town TV, we're not ambulance chasers, meaning we don't sit around and chase the hottest topic and then just, give our so-called take on it, our so-called opinion on it, and then just drop that on your head like that. We try to look deeper. We try to go to the root. We're taught in the Nation of Islam root knowledge. That's why we can walk into a church and bear witness. We can listen to our brothers in the Hebrew Israelites and bear witness because what they're teaching, the messenger taught 60 years ago, 70 years ago. We can go, we can even, if they let us in the synagogue, we can bear witness to we can bear witness to wherever truth is taught because we go to the root of the matter. And if it doesn't match the root, that's where we have a difference because we go to the root of every matter, and that's what we intend to do here if it be the will of Allah. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We see you, brother Hakeem Muhammad. All praises due to Allah. Definitely hit us up with your questions and comments. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, this is Nation Town TV Live, which is always brought to you by none other than NationTownStore.com. Shout out to all the supporters of NationTownStore.com. 2021, 2020, been our biggest years yet, and it's just growing, snowballing. Surely, I'm not even gonna say slowly, but absolutely surely, and that's because there's a group of people of Aboriginal gods, male and female, out there that when they think support your own, when they think accept your own, when they think nation building, they don't just think it, they do it. It ain't just lip service. And that's why NationTownStore.com is taking off. So if you need personal care products, you need that illustrious bean pie, you need some merch, you can get this lion's teeth. If you pay attention, this is actually all in Arabic. This is Arabic calligraphy that has a message that repeats through every part of the lion. That means basically every time, just because you see a lion's teeth doesn't mean that it's smiling. That's what this calligraphy, this Arabic calligraphy means. You can also purchase this on NationTownStore.com. Shout out to the whole NationTownStore.com family. Y'all can also hit us up on $ Nation Town on Cash App. Show us some love. Every dollar that you contribute to $ Nation Town on Cash App, a percentage of that goes to the Yes Ma'am program, a meal and a message. Shout out to everybody that regularly supports this program. And with this program, we offer and give, I should say, fresh foods, the same foods we eat, the delicious bean soup, the bean pie, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, water, that wheat bread, just like the messenger prescribed, and even PPE gear in this pestilence from heaven. And we distribute it to our people in the community. And the more you contribute, the more we're able to do so. We seek to expand it to places like Bakersfield, even San Diego, Las Vegas, particularly in the Western region and then beyond, make it a normal occurrence, along with the other programs that we have here, such as United in Peace, that always has a food giveaway almost every other month. But and that's headed by our beloved brother James A. Muhammad, brother Captain Will Muhammad, and of course our Western Regional Student Minister Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad. So definitely make sure y'all show us some love at $Nation Town on Cash App. And if you have not already, I don't know what you're going through in life. I know the pandemic is tough, but it shouldn't be so tough that you're not intelligent enough to go ahead and subscribe to NationTown TV on YouTube. In fact, we're on every major platform. Make sure you do so. But let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into it. Let's jump right into it. All praises are due to Allah. Again, we're dealing with the game behind the game. A lot of people been talking about Kyrie and the vaccine situation. And let me be clear on what I was saying before. I call it a so-called vaccine because, first of all, a vaccine has a particular function. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but the Nation of Islam, the FOI, we've been handing out flyers and pamphlets. You can go to NOI.org and get even further information, detailed information. But a vaccine, basically, it takes a part or a part of the structure of an actual disease, and it uses it as a way of building up antibodies in your body in order to fight that disease. None of these so-called vaccines that are on the market actually do that. What they have is like an mRNA uh, device. It's a biological device that does something completely different. And the word vaccine comes from the word baka, which means cow, because there was a disease called cowpox, and they came up with an actual cure for that, and then they used cowpox in order to help cure smallpox. And from that point forward, they started calling the cures or the treatments for these diseases vaccines, as a way to pay homage to the original vaccine, which was the cowpox vaccine. So this doesn't even follow the same traits as that. But you're not watching a vaccine episode on NationTown TV. I want to be very clear about that. Some of y'all probably came in expecting the same old rigmarole. For those who are completely in the dark, the situation is growing more and more in the sports world. These three brothers right here, as far as the NBA are concerned, they kind of have the bullseye on them. The first brother, Bradley Beal, who plays for the Washington Wizards, he's rejected it. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. The NBA, due to how the NBA is set up, and I'm going to get to that in a second, does not have a vaccine mandate. It doesn't. And that's due to the NBA Players Association, the union that all of the NBA players are members of. The union won't allow it. The NBA Players Association is a independent union. They are indeed just like all the other unions that the mechanical workers union, all those other unions that exist. They are a union and they're independent of the NBA, but they're consisted of NBA players, and they won't allow it. So and plus it would be bad press on the NBA if they were forcing their players to take any type of chemical. especially one that's not approved across the board. So Bradley Beal, you're not hearing so much about him for a couple of reasons. One, he plays out of a state that does not have a local mandate. And of course, he plays on a team that's not that good right now. And he's not as big of a star as Kyrie Irving. Many of you probably remember Kyrie Irving with the old man commercials and all of that. And he played at Duke University. Very talented ball player. And the Brooklyn Nets kind of have a super team thing going with Kevin Garnett and all of them, and James Harden and so forth and so on. Then you have Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins initially, and this is actually the reason why I'm doing this topic, not just because of Andrew Wiggins, but because of what happened with Andrew Wiggins, and it really made it a situation that we had to deal with. He got denied. He applied for a religious uh, 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 exemption, and he was denied for it. I guess he didn't express himself correctly. What's interesting about that is that every believer in the Nation of Islam that I know of that has applied for a religious or philosophical exemption has been granted it, because they went into great detail and they started their essay, so to speak, or their explanation the way I started this show: in the name of Allah. They bear witness to Master Father Muhammad and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it came with, I guess, so much power and truth. And see, the Caucasian, many of our people try to play dumb when it comes to the nation, but listen, man, the Caucasian knows what's going on. But anyway, Andrew Wiggins was denied, and that brought something to my mind. That this man said that he had a philosophical issue, a personal issue. He didn't go into detail with the public. He didn't necessarily say a religious issue, but he basically just said, I have a personal issue with taking this vaccine. And they said, we don't care. And that's when it kind of flew in my face. I always felt this way, but it was like documented evidence. This is what they call in the media, in the sleuth media, the smoking gun. This proves that these athletes, and please listen carefully to me, this proves that these athletes that you love so much, that you uh, idolize so much, that you think are so superhuman, that you argue over so much, that you make such a big deal out of, are essentially, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said on many occasions, slaves. This man went to the corporation or the organization that he works for and said, you want me to put something in my body? I don't want to do it. The NBA said, we don't give a damn. Nigga, take that shot. Now, the NBA doesn't have a mandate, so how were they able to even force him to do it? Well, the city of San Francisco and the surrounding counties, I believe Alameda County, and then the city of New York City and the surrounding boroughs, they have local mandates because those are two cities that have a high rate of COVID. So they have local mandates that everybody involved, whether you're an NBA player, astronaut, or whatever, if you're doing anything in the public, you have to adhere to it, unless you get an exemption that is approved by both the NBA and that locality. And I don't know exactly which one denied him, but he got denied and he went ahead and took the shot so he can play basketball. Interesting. But that let you know, but without a shadow of a doubt, that you're not dealing with, every time you see these players make a play, every time you see them dunk on somebody, every time you see a football player truck somebody or run somebody over or score a touchdown, the swagger and the braggadocio and all of that, and they growling like monsters and they flex their muscles like they're so strong. We're not dealing with superhumans. We're dealing with very strong, very athletic, and in many cases very rich,
slaves. So we're going to get behind the game, if it be the will of Allah. We're going to get right into it. Dear family, shout out to everybody chiming in. We see you. Hit us up with your questions and comments as we go forward. Now, before we go any further, I also want to point out this brother right here. This is Brandon Goodwin. He played for the Atlanta Hawks last season. His season came to an end when he had a season-ending medical situation that took place immediately after he took the jab. And as you can see, it says former Atlanta Hawks guard Brandon Goodwin claims COVID-19 vaccine ended his season. He said he became extremely lethargic and tired. He had back pains. Many of the symptoms that he mentioned were common side effects that a lot of everyday people were complaining of. And he felt great before he took the vaccine. He had no problem with taking the vaccine. He took it, and then it caused even blood clots, and now he's out of the league. Right after that, the Atlanta Hawks let him go. His contract expired. They made no attempts to re-sign him. They replaced him. They drafted a couple of players in his position and signed a couple of players. So they no longer needed him anymore. They knew they were getting rid of him, and now he's out of a job because of this vaccine. Now, again, we're not talking about the vaccine. I'm not here to argue about the vaccine. I'm not here to talk about masks. I'm not here to talk about none of that. What I love about the pestilence from heaven that you know as COVID-19. What? Wait a minute, Len. You said what you love about? What would you love about a pestilence? Well, the minister said it's a pestilence from heaven. When something is coming from Almighty God Himself, it comes to do a very specific thing. It says in your Bible that He comes to set down every tyrant. It tells you that the man of sin, not the spook of sin, not the creature of sin, the man of sin would be revealed. These are all things you find in your Bible. And we're in that time right now where everything is being exposed. And something that I was already figuring out 10, 15 years ago, now this pestilence is throwing it right in your face. That these men in these sports and these leagues that you think are so special and so important, it ain't worth the damn. And we're going to dig into that real quick. Hit us up with your questions and comments. We're going to superimpose them over the screen uh, and get into it. But let me jump into what I mean by the game behind the game. Because you better believe there is a game. All praises due to Allah. Well, let's get down to it, family. First of all, let me give y'all the disclaimer. This is definitely a time where I need to go over this. Warning, feelings may be caught. Negro discretion is advised. Negro, because a couple of episodes ago, we talked about gods beside God. And I'm going to tell you, man, sport and play is absolutely a God beside God. But I got to give you what they call in journalism full disclosure. What do I mean about full disclosure? Full disclosure is when you just are very clear and open and honest with the people about the source of the information that you're giving. The source is your brother, yours truly. I would say about 15 years ago, I was an extreme sports fan, especially football, college football, NFL, and then somewhat NBA. But I was a major sports fan. I was up on every movement, every story, everything that was going on. Sports was my life in a lot of ways. If I did the math on the 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds that exist in every day, if I broke it down, you would find that I spend more time focused on or dealing with sports than I did almost anything else. Definitely more than I spent praying. Definitely more than I spent time with my significant other. Definitely more than I spent, working out, more than I spent studying, more than I spent doing anything. And I was aware of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I've been a sympathizer of the nation since I was a teenager. But 15 years ago, though, my life revolved around ball. It revolved around college football, NFL. What's going on in the NBA? I even was up on my Bravos who are doing pretty good right now, the Atlanta Braves in baseball. I was kind of casual baseball fan, but it was really my life, like many young men around my age. It was really, I was consumed by it. And then there just came a point, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, where I just dropped it like a bad habit because it really was a bad habit. First of all, let me say this. There's nothing wrong with watching sports. There's nothing wrong with watching sports. The Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan is a huge pugilist fan, sweet science fan. Oh, okay, let me translate for those of y'all who don't. That's boxing. He's a huge fan of boxing, but he doesn't love it. He's not entrenched by it. It doesn't distract him to the point where he forgets his real duty on this earth. It's just when he got a little bit of free time, he don't mind watching a few fights. He'll watch a game or two. He has sons and grandchildren that are great at sports, but it doesn't consume his life. He's not consumed by it. There's a part in the scripture that everybody's heard of, whether you read it in the scripture or not, where Moses is talking to the burning bush. And in the scripture, no matter what translation or version that you're reading, it says that the bush was burning, but it was not consumed by the fire. The bush was burning, but it wasn't getting burnt up. It was just a flame around a bush or within a bush, but it was not burning the bush. It was a burning bush, but normally when you burn things, especially a bush, it eventually burns it into ashes. So it wasn't being consumed. That shows how Godhood works. When you're in touch with Godhood, you can do something and not be consumed by it. It can be all around you, but it cannot consume you. That's a very poetic part of the scripture. It's not talking about Moses just talking to a bush that's on fire. It means that this God that he was speaking to face, like a man speaks to his friend, which is how the scripture describes the relationship between Moses and God. For those of you who don't believe God is a man, how can you speak face to face with somebody that don't have a face? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it meant that God was angry. He was turned up, but he was not consumed by his anger, was not consumed by that fire. So I was consumed 15 years ago, but then I ran into a point where I realized, damn, I watch 3 or 4 games a week. Because keep in mind, around fall, and there's a reason why around fall and winter, almost all the sports are active. And fall is the playoff season for baseball. It's the beginning of the season for football. It's the preseason for basketball. There's a reason why these major sports all take place around this time. I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But in the heat, in the thick of the season of the year, especially around this time, you can mess around and watch 4 or 5 games, 6, 7 games a week. And now they got 24 hour, they got multiple 24-hour sports channels, ESPN, Fox News Sports, all of that. So then you watch the game, and then you watch another game and another game and another game, and then you watch the show about the game, and then you watch the show about the show about the show about the game. And now you arguing about the show about the show about the show about the game because somebody on that show said something that was this and that was that, and you disagree with or you agree with, whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop, whoop de whoop. So I started counting up the hours in my mind. I had a little epiphany and I said, damn, I started asking myself, how much money did I make or lose or miss out on? We all know what the answer to that first question, how much money did I make? I wasn't gambling. And most people that do gamble on sports, they lose a lot more money than they ever make. So I wasn't gambling, so I wasn't making any kind of money. But then how much was I losing? How many opportunities, how many things that I didn't even didn't even deal with because I was worried about, you know, who gonna draft this player and which player gonna do this and who's injured this week and who gonna do this and who gonna make the playoffs and all of this, things that had no redeeming value for me or anybody around me. So it was three main things about sports that made me just drop it cold turkey. I just woke up one day and I just did not give a damn. That's real. I just didn't give a damn. Now, when I say that, when anybody say, I don't know about when you say you don't give a damn. And this is just the grafted English language, so I don't care nothing about, you know, harsh words. The Holy Quran says you can use harsh words if you're oppressed. But damn ain't a harsh word. It's just a very emphatic word. But when I say I don't give a damn, see, anything that will make you say damn is something that you give a damn about. If your favorite player is out for the year, you say, damn. A sincere damn. Your team lose, damn. You see somebody get dunked on, damn. But when you stop giving the damn, it's like I don't have no dams for it. When I see a great play, you know, just perusing the internet or whatever, I catch a highlight video. Oh wow, that's nice. Oh man, that was a good play, and I move on. The teams that I used to root for, they lose, they get blown out, they win, they do whatever, they blow somebody else out. Okay, cool. The dams are gone. I'm fresh out of dams, but there's three major reasons why I ran out of dams. And in major sports, in sports in general, you got two letters that you hear a lot: W's and L's. L's mean losses, W's mean wins. Dubs. There's three dubs in particular that made me stop giving a damn about major sports. And we're going to go over those real quick. Shout out to everybody chiming in. All praises due to Allah. Shout out to brother Ladexter V for that Cash App donation. All praises are due to Allah. Three reasons why I stopped giving a damn about sport and play, which is how the Quran describes it. Number one, remember it's three dubs. The first dub is weak players. And when I say weak, listen, I ain't talking about how LeBron when he flops, somebody blow on his on his ball spot and then he act like he got shot by AK-47. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. I mean the kind of weak where you act like you're so strong and so powerful and so invincible when you score a touchdown or dunk on somebody, but then as soon as some 97-pound Jew tells you to stick a chemical in you that you don't know nothing about, you fall over. You fall over like a domino. That's weak. That's the first dub. That's the first dub that made me stop giving a damn. Cause see, I kind of got a loud, self-accusing spirit. He's loud and he's obnoxious. We're taught in the Nation of Islam that your self-accusing spirit, otherwise known as your conscience, is really God, who's closer to you than your what? Your jugular vein. And I'm gonna tell you, man, my self-accusing spirit, man, sometimes he's an a-hole. And he starts getting under my skin. So I'm watching sports and I'm like, man, why am I sitting up here so intrigued by these weak men? They're weak. Strong built, but weak. They had strong slaves on every plantation who could pick up a whole damn trolley, pick up two or three horses. These were big buck Negroes on the plant. They were strong. The weakest brother on the plantation, hell, the weakest sister on the plantation was strong. How else could you be strong and endure that kind of life? They had physical strength. Many of them were mentally strong. But this idea that these players are so invincible, I started to see through that because I'm no longer looking through the lens of a child. As children, because that's when we are. Everybody that loves sports, you start off as a child. You start off as a child and you looking up to grown men and they seem like superheroes. But when you get older, like the Bible says, when I was a child, I thought as a child. When you get older, you start to look at these men eye to eye. They might be taller than you, bigger than you, but you got to start looking at them. And now I'm at a point where I'm the same age or older than a lot of these players. And I'm seeing them for the measure of manhood that they have, and I'm not impressed. So the first dub was weak players. What do I mean by weak players? Let's look into it with actual facts. The NBA said that 90% of its players, 90% of its players have been vaccinated. I wonder what percentage of them know what's in the vaccine or what's not in the vaccine or what it does or what it doesn't do, what a vaccine actually means, what it doesn't mean. But the NBA said, stick this in you, boy. And they said, Yazoo. That shows how hypocritical these leagues are, because if they are forcing these players to take a vaccine or a chemical that they don't understand, nor do the players understand, then the next time a player takes a drug test and says he has some kind of chemical in him, performance enhancing chemical, and he says, I didn't know what it was, I didn't know that I was taking it, they have to, legally. In fact, if I was one of these players' lawyers and my client got suspended for taking a performance enhancing drug and his explanation was he didn't know, I would take that to the Supreme Court and use the vaccine mandate. That's the reason why the leagues themselves are not mandating it, because legally they would have to deal with that in court. How are you gonna kick a player out the league for taking this substance that he wasn't sure about? He's not a chemist. He didn't finish college. Hell, y'all drafted this Negro out of high school. He been playing baseball professionally since he was 16. All he ever did was play sports, and now y'all suspending him because he's not a scientist. See, they could turn that around. So that's why the Jews that run the NBA and NFL, they're very, very, very careful legally with everything, but especially how they handling this situation. But that's the first thing. Weak players. Also, as far as Brother Wiggins is concerned, Wiggins' application, this is what I was talking about earlier. His application for a religious exemption was denied by the NBA last week, potentially forcing the 26-year-old to miss all Warriors home games this year. And Beal, who was held, that's Bradley Beal, the Washington Wizards, he was held out of the Tokyo Olympics because of a positive coronavirus test. Told reporters Monday that he declined the COVID-19 vaccine for personal reasons. What's the second reason? The second W as to why I stopped giving a damn about sports. Before I get to that, let me give a shout out to everybody chiming in. We got a lot of messages coming in. All praises due to Allah. Shout out to brother 99 Al, Faili, Wakim, wa alaikum salam, dear brother. He says, I love to peruse pugilism myself. I grew up watching boxing on Saturdays with my pops. Beautiful sport. Beautiful and very scientific sport. All praises due to Allah. Sister Yasiel Joy says, you are speaking truth on sports, Brother Landon. All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. Sister Shauna says, wa alaikum salam to the whole Nation Town TV family. Definitely. Sister Yasiel says, the GMOs and poison foods have broken athletes' bodies down. Weak is true. Absolutely, it's broken. But I'm talking about their spirit, too. Their spirit. I mean, to me, when you start talking manhood, dear family, when we get into the realm of manhood, it ain't about muscle no more. It ain't about how high you jump. Understand, most of these athletes, not only do they retire before their 40s, but because of their size and the rigors, your body is not made to play football on the level that they play it for 15 years. It's just not. That's why they have these issues with CTE and brain issues, because every time a player gets hit or delivers a hit in football, it's like getting in a car accident. Literally. The brain scans match those of people who get in a car accident. Your body, your knees are not made to run up and down the court well into your 30s every 3 or 4 times a day. I mean, 3 or 4 times a week, all game. Is not made for that. Your body's not made to play these sports. So not only do they retire before they're 40, which is young, man. When we think young and old, even when Negroes think young and old, because we so entrenched and focused on sports and entertainment. And there's a reason for that I'm gonna get into a little bit in a minute, because those are the two areas where we were granted what I call crumbs of leisure on the plantation. Is when we were Mandingo fighters
and when we can entertain masses. So all the way to today, we put such an emphasis because we think that's the only way a Negro can have something in this world is if we entertain and master by dunking a basketball or dancing. So we think age in terms of age in the realm of entertainment and sports. Because in entertainment, young is, 25 on down, on back. Old is when you approaching 40. But when you look at the power structure of the world, you can't even run for president until you're 35. The average Fortune 500 CEO is well into his 50s. The average congressman is well into his 60s. So the people that really run this world, that really run this country, that run the NBA, run these teams, run the NFL, they're grown. So these players have a mentality that their athleticism is all that matters, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then they get to a point where all of a sudden they're used up, they're washed up, the game is over. Even when they have a illustrious career, they get to a point where now they have to figure something else out. And then a lot of them run into brick walls and they end up, mishandling their funds. But let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. That second reasons why I stopped giving a damn about sport and play. Whack sportscasters. Woo wee. Whack sportscasters. This is one of the things that really started to become clear to me. And I'm gonna go down the line of three that stand out. And it's ugly, y'all. It's ugly. Just to give you an example, they just just the surface level. Whack sportscasters. That's the second W. We got weak players, whack sportscasters. Sportscasters like Sister Jamel Hill. I actually used to like her and her commentary. But when she got fired from ESPN, she really started to, you know, align herself with just an unnecessary line of thinking. This Black Lives Matter, and I don't mean Black Lives Matter as in what the term itself means, but Black Lives Matter, the organization, this kind of anti-black male thing. It's just so perplexing to me. I remember a couple of years ago, and we did a story about this on NationTown TV, where she basically was really touting this article from the Root magazine that said straight black men are the white people of black people. I know, I don't understand it either. I tried to read the article, still didn't make sense. But to this day, she's still pushing that agenda. How does she go from following and reporting on sports that's 90% black male, but then have so much hate in her heart for black men? That's the reason why we need black sportscasters, so these athletes are not being judged and ridiculed by people who don't understand them. But it seems like the more black sportscasters we have, the more they're ridiculed. Okay, it gets worse. Then you have this one, Sage Steele. Never liked her. I always knew something was up with her. She just seemed really phony before I knew anything about her personal beliefs or her personal life or her personal life or her personal life. But it ain't just that. You can marry whoever you want to marry. But check out what she said about the 44th president of the United States. And this is just an example because I just wanted to let you know what I mean by whack sportscasters. But this is what Sage Steele said about Barack Obama. Pay attention. If they make you choose a race, what are you going to put? Well, both, said Steele. Barack Obama, this is her talking. Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial. Congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I think that's fascinating considering his black dad is nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But okay, you do you. I'm going to do me. I'm going to do me. I'm pretty sure my white mom was there when I was born, and my white family loves me as much as my black family. But that was just that's just when she first started tripping. And then she really start playing this conservative
Negro card. She ran into Rachel Lindsay. You may not know of her. I didn't know of her until I read this article. Rachel Lindsay was the first black woman on The Bachelorette. Okay. And she ended up choosing a white guy on The Bachelorette. Those of you who may be familiar with that. She runs into Sage Steele at a party, and Sage said she was thrilled that she didn't pick a black man on The Bachelorette. And she did a whole podcast about how weird it was. Now, this is a woman that picked a white man, but she was so put off by Sage Steele's energy and how excited she was that this sister didn't pick a black man that made her go back. She actually never started a relationship with the white guy. And I think she's engaged to a black man now, but it's like it shocked her back into her blackness. Sage Steele was such a coon. But let's keep it moving. And y'all know who the third example I'm gonna use. Y'all already know. Y'all already know. And the latest thing, I'll be on here for the next 30 days, nonstop, the longest live broadcast in the history of YouTube. If I went through all the coonish activity of this individual, but in dealing with Kyrie Irving, this was one of his more explosive tweets. Trade Kyrie if he ain't gonna take the vaccine. And y'all love this dude. Y'all love him. Oh, I can't stand him. You say you can't stand him because you watch him every day and you know everything that comes out his mouth. And that's the business that he's in. A lot of these sportscasters, it's just like politics. They don't even believe some of the stuff that they actually say, but they know if they get on there and be cookie cutter and honest and fair, you're not going to watch. You're not going to watch. Like with NationTown TV, a lot of times we're honest and we're fair. And I know I could get more viewers, we could get more support if we either started clout chasing or start just saying dumb stuff just to get attention. But in the sportscasting world and in politics, that's what they do because they know you're gonna tune in. I call it the Fox News strategy. Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox, all of the subsidiaries, including Fox News, and Fox News is his baby. That's what he cares about most. He is a genius, a wicked devil, but a genius nonetheless. Because when they get on Fox News and they say, niggas ain't worth the damn, Bill Clinton is the devil, Democrats are the devil, whoopty whoopty whoop. They know that white conservatives and black so-called conservatives are going to watch and cheer it on. And then they know so-called liberals and Democrats are going to watch it too, growling at they screen. But when it comes time for them to sell advertising space to Nike and Coca-Cola and Lexus and some, Wall Street Journal or whoever, all they're going to do is lay down the ratings on the table and say, this is how many people watched Fox and Friends yesterday. This is how many people watched Bill O'Reilly yesterday. It don't matter if they watched and agreed or disagreed. This is how many. So y'all going to have to pay us at least $800,000 if y'all want to do another Coca-Cola commercial during the Bill O'Reilly show. And they can't argue with that. They either got to pay up or let Pepsi get that airtime. And they don't want to let Pepsi get it, so they going to go ahead and cut that check. So that's what it's all about. And that's what it's, I don't really know who Stephen A. Smith really is. We love to call him a coon and all this. I don't know what he is. It's a brother out there who has a job cleaning toilets. You think he love to do that? Or does he do it because it's his job? Stephen A. Smith doesn't have the testicular fortitude or the just the personal depth to say, nah, I can't do that for $1. I can't look like a damn fool, a damn coon. He's just doing something that he know you're gonna watch, and he's gonna be successful, and he's gonna make some money in the process. So I don't know who any of these people are, but I see right through their strategy. I see right through the game. So that's the number two reason why I stopped dealing with sports like that. I still watch a game every now and then. I've been married for 4 years, and my wife has probably seen me sit down and watch a game from beginning to end maybe once or twice in 4 years. If I went back in time and told one of my friends from 15 years ago that, they wouldn't believe me. They'd be like, okay, either you don't live with your wife or something's wrong. It ain't no way you never sat down, and you hardly ever sat down and watch a game. Your wife ever caught you watching the game. But number three reason, number three reason that proves why, or number three motivation, I should say, why I stopped giving a damn about sports. And this one right here kind of speaks for itself. That's the third W. White owners. And I mean white owners. Every game you watch, they always have that little moment in the game where they show a shot of the luxury booth, or the executive booth in the arena or in the stadium. And you see one of these fellers. Look at all the beigeness. Look at the opacity. These are the NFL owners. These are the NBA owners. You see that one ink spot at the top. That's the greatest player to ever play the game, Michael Jordan. He had to be the greatest player to ever play the game to get him a spot on this list. I mean, he had to be one of the great. You can't talk about the GOAT without at least mentioning Michael Jordan. You don't know what you're talking about if he ain't even in the picture. But he had to be that good. He had to glide from the free throw line. He had to win 6 championships. He had to drop 40 some points with the flu. He had to do all of that just to be on this list. Now tell me how good of a player that dude to his left was. Tell me how much about basketball the dude to his right knows. I wonder if the dude up under him can hit a layup, can dribble between his legs, can jump higher than 3 inches off the ground. I wonder. And that was another thing that just let me know that, man, what am I watching? What am I watching? I'm watching my Mandingo Fights. That's at worst. At best, I'm watching Roman gladiators. But we're going to get into that. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We see you all. Praises due to Allah. We won't be on much longer. My wife says never, actually. Yeah, she never saw me just watch a whole game from beginning to end. She might catch me seeing some. And I'm telling you, it's nothing dogmatic. In the Nation of Islam, we don't have a dogmatic doctrine. First of all, everything that we do and don't do, we're taught the reason why, the significant and substantial reason why. Now, there is something in the Quran that mentions sport and play, and we about to get into that real quick. This is the Holy Quran, Surah 47, Ayat 36, and it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The life of this world is but idle sport and play. And if you believe and keep your duty, he will give you your reward, and he does not ask of you your wealth. The life of this world is just sport and play. But look at that I word that it mentions first. The life of this world is but idle sport and play. What does idle mean? And this goes back to why I stopped messing with sports like that. Of a person avoiding work, lazy, idle. You're not going forward, you're not going backward, you just kind of just there. Without purpose or effect, pointless. Now let's watch. Let's be honest, Aboriginal black men and women, NationTown TV family. Just stop and think about the condition of our people right now. Do we come off as an active, productive people, or more like an idle people? Now go into a barbershop, a packed barbershop. 10 barbers, 40 people waiting. Go in there and start talking about something substantial, something that means something, and see how spirited the conversation gets. You'll see a lot of shoulder shrugging, a lot of people like, yeah. But then go in there and start talking about the Cowboys. Start talking about LeBron. Who's the GOAT? Is it Kobe? Is it Kareem? Is it Jordan? Is it LeBron? And watch how spirited they get. Hmm? Idle. Idle. In fact, one of the side effects of idolatry, which is a different word, is idleness, which is the word we just went over. But let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. But I want you to focus on that particular word, idle. Idle. Because that's our condition. We are an idle people. And we'll sit around and argue with each other about this foolishness. And then if you bring up world events, something that's going on with the EU, or what's going on with the United Nations, or what's going on with politics, whether you want to vote or not, I ain't big on voting. You know, it's the lesser of two evils, oftentimes, especially when you're talking executive branch, president or governor or mayor. If you're gonna vote on anything, you know, it's local ordinances and things and SB, you know, Senate bills that come up all the time that are much more important. But it ain't about voting when it comes to politics. And no student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad has ever been politically ignorant. Malcolm X, politically wise. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, political master. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad, read Fall of America, read Even Our Savior Has Arrived, read Message to the Black Man, very politically aware and masterful. Politics, the true meaning of the word politics. But what does the average Negro say about politics when you bring it up? Oh man, it ain't got nothing to do with me, man. Hey, they ain't gonna do nothing for me. And you right, brother. Sister, you right. But if LeBron wins another ring, how many rings is that gonna put on your finger? If LeBron wins another championship or doesn't, how will that affect your bank account? Will that send your children to school? Will you be any brighter, any smarter? Will you be in a better condition? Will the city that these players represent? That's another thing. We got a lot of a plantation mentality, and we about to get into that. One of the things that Willie Lynch taught the slave masters to push on the slaves is to make them prideful of their plantation. If it's on a big plantation, make your slaves feel proud of that big plantation, even though they don't own a damn thing. And really, the bigger the plantation, the harder these niggas got to work. You go to some of the biggest cities in America, our people in the worst condition. But we stick our chest out about a city where we don't own a damn thing. So, and we tie that to sports. These players that are bought and sold and traded, very few of them play for the same cities that they grew up in. But if LeBron James, who was born and raised in Akron, Ohio, wins a game playing for the Miami Heat or the Los Angeles Lakers, people in LA take some kind of pride in that. Plantation mentality. Let's keep it moving. Let's go deeper into that. Let's go deeper into that. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We see you. All praises due to Allah. Brother Hakeem Muhammad said, I also spent and invested too much time in the sports as a youngster and an immature adult and received negative returns mentally, physically, and spiritually. That's real. That's real. I mean, I remember being upset for a whole month about the outcome of a damn game. About the outcome of a game of grown men playing children's games. They children's sports at the end of the day. Let's be real. They really games for children. And these are grown men. And other grown men are either overly excited or depressed about winning or losing the game. But like I said, there is a epigenetic Look up that word, epigenetic reason for that. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But let's talk about Rome. That look like an old football stadium, don't it? Because that's what every football stadium is based off of, the old Colosseums of the Roman Empire, the gladiators. In fact, this is the blueprint of the sports world that we're so obsessed with today. I'm going to read you a few things about this. Pay very close attention. This is speaking of the gladiator games of the Roman Empire. And tell me if some of this makes sense or sounds familiar. It says, after the slave revolt of Spartacus in 73 BC, the state assumed greater control of public games. Remember, Kyrie Irving is not being held out of practice and games because of the league. It's the state of New York. Pay attention. And large numbers of gladiators were trained in imperial schools, went to certain schools that focus on gladiator training. Interestingly, ludus means game and school because both required imitation and repetition. Under the tutelage of a manager, that's what they call them in baseball, not coaches, but managers, a lanista, a troop familiar of gladiators could be sold or hired out, and many were retained privately by politicians and wealthy citizens as bodyguards, especially in times of civil unrest. Check this out. Most gladiators were prisoners of war, slaves bought for the purpose, or criminals condemned to serve in the schools, damnati ad ludas, at a time when 3 of every 5 persons did not survive until their 20th birthday. These gladiators came from very wretched, tough conditions. Sound familiar? The odds of a professional gladiator being killed in any particular bout, at least during the first century AD, were perhaps 1 in 10. For a full year in Nero's wooden amphitheater in the Campus Martius, no one died at all, not even criminals. But check this part out. Those were those who were publicly executed, or for Christian martyrs who refused to renounce their faith and worship the gods. There was no hope of survival. Some of the punishment from some of the followers of Jesus after Jesus' crucifixion were thrown into the arena against their will. And because of their religious beliefs, their philosophical beliefs, they were murdered in the Colosseum. Murdered in the Colosseum. Free men also volunteered to be gladiators, octorate, and by the end of the Republic comprised half the number who fought. Often they were social outcasts, freed slaves, discharged soldiers, or former gladiators who had been liberated on retirement but chose to return. You ever hear about that? Athletes who leave and you think they washed up and they keep on coming back like they don't have nothing else to do. They signed on for a fee and swore a fearful oath of absolute submission to the lanista, to be burned, flogged, beaten, or killed if so ordered, giving their whole life to it. That's the Roman Empire. Let's go a little bit down the calendar. Then you got Mandingo fights. Many of you saw this on the movie Django Unchained. Some people don't believe it really exists. Some scholars say, oh, it wasn't that big. Oh, why would a slave master risk his investment? Because a slave was the equivalent of a John Deere tractor, or hell, a Mercedes Benz, or a bus or something. They cost a lot of money. They cost a lot of money, but you have to understand that they found over the years of slavery different uses for slaves. It got to the point very early in slavery where slaves would buy a female slave, a female sister, make her slave, and her only reason, her only use was to be a bed wench because the slave master found her attractive. There were some slaves who were runaways. They didn't like to work. They were very rebellious. But then when they were put back on the auction block after being sold off by their original plantation, the auctioneer would point out that, hey, he's not going to bale that hay and tote that barge that well. And he might try to run away a couple of times, but he'll win you a lot of money in a Mandingo fight. Come get this nigga. We starting to bid at $80. Who got 80? Got 80 over there, 20, 20. And there it is. So they started finding different ways to use them, and Mandingo fights was one of those ways. And these Mandingo fights, just like on Django Unchained, when they win, they get a woman, they get something to eat, something to drink, and a pat on the back from Massa. And that's what you see these athletes getting today. Once they retire, no matter how many millions they made, 75% or more of them are dead broke. Check this out. In an interview with the Works Progress Administration in the 1930s, ex-slave John Finley described something that he called nigger fights. According to Finley, plantation owners organized these fights at annual festivals attended by both owners and slaves. For most slaves, festivals were a time of merriment. There was singing and dancing. Hello, HBCU halftime shows. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. There was singing and dancing and welcomers. Hello, Super Bowl halftime. Anyway, there was singing and dancing and welcome respite from the daily labor on cotton farms. Remember, crumbs of leisure. The slaves would have corn husking contests with the slave who found a red ear of corn receiving brandy or a kiss from a favorite gal. See, this is that epigenetics I was talking about. This is why every year, to my woke brothers and sisters out there, whether you're in the nation or not, you have such a hard time trying to talk to your family about the absolute foolishness around Christmas. Oh, we do it for the kids, the baby goats. We do it for the kids. It's not this is how, just like the Holy Quran says, we found our fathers doing it. If it was good for our fathers, and it's good for us. We always celebrate Christmas. I don't know. Oh, gone with all that Muslim stuff. That's why you have such a hard time, because it's epigenetically rooted in our DNA. Because the only time our forefathers got a break from working from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, from getting the skin off their back torn off by a whip, they being called nigger this, nigger that, the sister from being a bed wench by force or otherwise. The only time they got a break from that never-ending cycle of oppression was a couple of times around Christmas, and this is if they had a merciful master, around Christmas, or around some type of pageantry, or around some type of sporting event on the plantation. So to this day, no matter how many problems we have in our community, no matter how many bigger fish we have to fry, we all get lost in sport and play because it's that only little crumb of leisure that we think we have. We think it's all we have. It's all in epigenetics. Let's keep it moving. We're about to shut it down in a minute. We're about to shut it down in a minute. We got a bombshell to drop before we get out of here. Just hold tight. Here's something you want to consider. The plantation test. I'm going to go through this real quick. And this is not just for sports. This is for anything that you do in your lifestyle. Superimpose your beliefs and lifestyle over plantation culture, and that'll let you know how much of a slave you are. Is nearness to master your goal in 2021 now? I'm talking about 2021. Do you think your life is better off if you live around more white people? If your children are educated by more white people? If you do the things that white people do? Do you get intrigued by things just because you see white people doing it, even though you never did it before? Do you shop at stores just because you know upscale, so-called upscale white people? They're really, if you know their nature, there's no way to even call them upscale, but you think they're upscale because they got a little bit of money. Do you do things just because they do it? You might be a slave. Do you resist rebellion to slave masters more than you resist the slave master. If somebody brings you a thought, brings you actual facts that rebels from the slave mentality, do you resist them or twist your lips up at them or reject them more than you reject the slave master himself? You might be a slave. Do you participate in slave torture? What do I mean by this? Let me pause on this one. What's participating in slave torture? Back when they tortured a slave for being insubordinate, from trying to escape, y'all seen Roots. They tie him up, hog tie him, or put him on a tree somewhere. They whip the skin off his back. They cut his foot off. They'll even cut his phallus off. They'll cut his testicles off. They do all kind of strange things to him. They would always make the sisters stand in the front row. Made sure that was another time that the slave got a break, when it was time to come and see another slave be broken. Go back into that barbershop, go back into that beauty salon, listen to what they talking about. They talking about sports, they talking about foolishness, they talking about celebrities, they talking about the latest Negro to get buck broken, to get tortured by this society in front of the whole plantation. In other words, the whole black nation. And they always make sure the sisters are up front. Hello, R. Kelly. Hello, Bill Cosby. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. This is the Plantation Test. Run it on yourself, on your own spare time. You ain't got to lie to me. Do you worship as your master told you to? It don't matter what you call what you worship. Because if you go through the poison book, the Bible, there's a lot of good stuff in there for the black man. Because first of all, there ain't no white people in the book. It's a lot of good stuff in there for us. So I ain't tripping off what you call yourself, Christian, Muslim, but do you worship it the way they tell you is acceptable? There's some Muslims out there who gravitate toward the so-called orthodox way of Islam because it's more palatable to masses. Yeah, yeah. So do you worship the way your master tells you to? It don't matter what you call what you worship. Do you do it like they tell you to? Last but not least, are you in love with Master's crumbs of leisure? Crumbs of leisure. Keep in mind, this is NationTown TV brought to you by NationTownStore.com. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, hit that bell, and of course, show love. Cash App, $ NationTown. Let's keep it moving. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We see you. All praises due to Allah. Let's play a game, y'all, before we get up out of here. I got a bombshell coming. We ain't there quite yet. We about to hit it in a minute, but let's play a game. Let's play a game called not let's make a deal, but let's make a sports slave. Because what I'm about to do is break down for you why we shouldn't put so much hope in these athletes. Malcolm X said something that he was taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad that was so true and so sad at the same time. He said, we're the only people who take our entertainers and athletes as leaders. But the next time you're ready to get mad at an Andrew Wiggins for standing up to the vaccine and then, kowtowing, keep in mind 90% of the players in the league didn't even put up a fight. It's almost like a woman being raped. And 90% of the other sisters just bent over and took it. And then, or men being raped for that matter. And the men bent over, 90% bent over and took it. And then the one brother at least threw a couple of haymakers and then broke down. Like old boy on what's that movie? It slips my mind right now. The Stephen King movie. But yeah, so let's make a slave. Let's make a sports slave. That's also what Willie Lynch said in his letter. Let's make a slave. This is how these athletes are brought up. So you can have some understanding, so you don't be so heartbroken. A lot of y'all was heartbroken by Deontay Wilder getting knocked out again. And with these NBA players and Kyrie Irving, I wish the best for him. I've always
considered the brother very intelligent. He was raised by his father. He lost his mother at a young age, and he was actually raised by his father. I saw an interview of his father when he was drafted in the NBA. No, when he was still at Duke, they interviewed his father, and just from listening to his father, I knew that Kyrie was, he was reared right. So Kyrie is a very intelligent brother, and I think he'll hold strong. He may even be another Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Some of y'all may remember him, played for the Denver Nuggets. He was a better player in college than Shaquille O'Neal. They played together. Shaquille O'Neal was the second best player on the team. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, that was his Muslim name. But before that, I think his name was Chris Jackson in college. And he was a great player. He played like Steph Curry plays today. It's just the game was different back then. If Mahmoud Abdul Rauf played in the league today in his prime, he would be every bit as good as Steph Curry and old boy that played for the Trailblazers and whatnot, because the game fits his game back then. But anyway, Kyrie Irving could be headed in that direction, but if he caves in, y'all, don't take it personal, because I'm about to go over where these athletes come from. That way you don't have to, then you will know what you're really dealing with. This is another reason why I don't take sports so seriously. These are babies, man. These are children. Let's make a slave. Let's make a sports slave. Step one, you got to discover their talent. This happens before the white man really even gets involved. The parents start with this. If their child comes home with a science project, 7 years old, and he just aced the science project, and the science project is just amazing. He created a whole universe on a piece of cardboard. The parent or parents in the family, they pat the little brother on the head or little sister on the head and say, "That's good, baby. My baby's so smart. Anyway, girl, let me tell you what happened yesterday on Real Housewives of so and so and so and so." And that's the end of it. That's the end of the conversation. If that same little boy come home and say, "Mama, mama, mama, I got first place in the basketball contest. Mama, 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 I made the football team. Mama, 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 I scored 5 touchdowns." Mama coming to the game next week, and she gonna be the loudest person in the stands, and she gonna already, this boy 11 years old, she already picking out the house that she gonna buy when he go to the NFL, because we think this is the only type of success that matters. It's the only way to success, and my baby gonna make it. So it starts at home, as everything else does. His talent is discovered by his friends, his family, the people around him. And it's usually at a very young age. It ain't 16, 17. He's more like 7 or 8. Step two, special treatment within his own family. He might have siblings, but he get treated better than his siblings. At school, he gets treated better. He can skip class. He can, they grade him on a curve. These are facts. I know these for facts, people. I had a lot of friends that were top athletes in middle school and high school. I saw it for myself. Some of them couldn't hardly read, but they got into schools that had high academic standards. But I'm just keeping it real. Step three, local news. The local news start taking notice of little Keontae scoring 5 touchdowns in a game. Now he's in the newspaper. Now, keep in mind, we talking about a 13, 14-year-old. This is a child. Now, here's where it gets ugly. And this is, I'm describing 90% of your favorite athletes. They start getting locally recruited. So now their environment changes. Because just like the white man will go to Africa and poach all the diamonds, poach all the oil, poach all of the natural minerals, you got countries like Switzerland that has that's one of the richest countries in the world, but there are no natural resources of any value in Switzerland. Why? Why? Where do they get their richness from? They get it out of Africa. So they get locally recruited. They don't go to their neighborhood middle school or high school that's right around the corner, that's walking distance. Now they're getting bussed out.
to some school clear across town, usually a Catholic school, Our Lady of the Lord high school, Saint whatever, whatever, middle school. They surrounded by all these little white children and all these white girls. And they treat them like a mascot. They're the pride of the school. Nobody cares about academics. Nobody cares about the plight of the community that they poached him out of. They only care about his physical prowess. Now watch this. Watch this. We making a sports slave now. With this R. Kelly and Bill Cosby situation, everybody been talking about grooming, how they groom young girls to make them into little sex slaves. Well, there's grooming going on the other side of things as well. Step 5, athletic supremacy. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. This is when the child is completely convinced that the only thing that matters in their life is sports. And they see this. Nobody actually comes to them and tells them, son, listen, Jamal, the only thing that matters in the world is you scoring touchdowns, nigger. Nobody tells them that directly. But they know that they flunking their tests, but they're not being rude and eligible. They know that they don't really understand a lot of the schoolwork, but that's fine. They realize that when they show up to school, everybody patting them on their back. Good game, Jamal. Good game, Jamal. Good game. They go to the local hamburger stand. Good game, Jamal. Everybody's just talking about sports. Nobody's asking them, "Hey, Jamal, I know I noticed you have a new science class. How did you do in it? How'd you do on your science project?" His parents ain't even asking. His family ain't even asking. Jamal, if you don't make it to the NFL, what are you planning on doing with you? Nobody's asking him this. So he gets it in his head very early that ball is life, and that's all life is for you, nigga. We making a slave. We making a slave. Then our supreme wisdom talks about how the 85 percenter does not understand the law of cause and effect. There's a cause and effect malfunction because at this point, this young brother, he's convinced that the success that he's having, the attention that he's getting, it's not because of his own hard work and talent that was actually fortified on concrete basketball courts in the ghetto, backyard football games in the ghetto. No, he starts to think that, you know what? I'm only having this success because some benevolent white coach came to the ghetto, found me, saved me like Superman saves Lois Lane, and took me and my family to this good neighborhood and this good school. Sometimes they move the whole family there. They get mama a job and everything. They do that. They do this. So they start thinking before they even get to the college level, they are thinking that this white man saved me. Not I'm saving this white man, which is the real that white dude was about to get fired. He probably he made the playoffs in 3 years. They was about to fire his ass. Then he recruited you out the ghetto. Now y'all playing for the state championship. You saved him, but you don't realize it. You just think this white man came and found me and saved me because it matches up with everything he sees on television. Every movie he sees, the hero is a white man. Everything he sees in politics, the hero is the white man. So it all matches up. So he's got a malfunction of cause and effect. He doesn't realize that he's the cause. He's the reason why he goes because he feels privileged to go to this private school that's got this big basketball arena that looks like a college arena. They got high school football stadiums in Texas that look better than most HBCU stadiums. High school. And this black athlete thinks I'm blessed to be allowed to play in a stadium like this and have top-notch facilities. Not realizing that it's you that paid for all that. Because when you go to these facilities, look around. Look at the concession stand. It's got a Coca-Cola symbol on it. Look around the arena. You see advertisements from local businesses. They all pay for that advertisement. They donated the money for that damn arena. Why? Because they knew that all of that would get top publicity because of black athletes. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. And then the last step, sex and vanity distraction. When they get moved to this different environment, different high school, different community, then they get recruited into college. They're not going to Jackson State, not yet. They're not going to Clark. They're not going to Morehouse. They ain't going to Grambling. Where they going? They going to a school that's 97% white. And when it comes to the opposite sex, who you think is going to, in fact, when they go on campus visits, when they being recruited, the first thing they do is throw a bunch of white girls in their face. Hey, Jamal, we really love you to come and play for us, Jamal. I can't wait to see you win the Heisman, Jamal. That's how you make a sports slave. And then these players get to the NBA, and now you want them to be Malcolm X. Now you want them to be Martin Luther King. Now you want them to be Farrakhan. When since they were 12 years old, that was the process that they were put through. They have been groomed to be a coon. When you see a Kyrie, when you see a LeBron, when you look at how LeBron has been a superstar since he was 14 years old, and white people have been kissing the bottom of his feet since he was 14, and the fact that he's still married to a beautiful black woman, he cares about black causes, he's building schools for black children. The fact that he is what he is, just the fact that LeBron James ain't a 100% super tap dancing coon blows my mind. Blows my mind. That's how I know there ain't nothing but God moving that situation. I ain't saying LeBron is perfect. I know some of y'all so tied up in sport and play. You ain't no LeBron fan, or you didn't like him when he was on the Cavaliers. You didn't like him when he was on the Heat. Now you don't like him when he's in the Lakers. Or you ain't, no. I'm talking about manhood. He is a respectable black man, and the fact that he been a superstar since he was 14, his high school games were aired on ESPN. The first to do that. And for him to be as conscious as he is, I ain't saying he Malcolm X, I ain't saying he Farrakhan, but damn, I don't see how he's what he is. He didn't, his mama wasn't no Angela Davis. What his mama wasn't no, wasn't no Dr. Ava Muhammad. I mean, so that's how you know that Allah's hand. You can never downplay the hand of God in any situation. Because there's a reason why that brother has the mentality that he has. And Kyrie Irving, same thing. But don't get upset if they disappoint you. They will disappoint you. We're going to talk about that before we get out. But we almost finished. Here's the bombshell that I wanted to drop. I got to expose a myth that I believed with sports and consciousness. That I believe. But I did some research and I found out otherwise. I'm going to show you a picture. What people keep bringing up every time LeBron stands up for any black cause, Kyrie, Colin Kaepernick, they always bring up the Cleveland Summit. They always bring up what appeared to be in the past a more common narrative of black athletes standing up for black people. It's a very common narrative that black athletes back in the day cared more about their blackness than they do today. With much shame and disappointment, I have to tell you that is absolutely not true. In fact, that image itself of these black men coming together at what's known as the Cleveland Summit, some people call it the Muhammad Ali Summit. I mean, it's a beautiful picture. These are all the best athletes of this time. If you don't know nothing about what you're looking at right now, this is the equivalent. Let me try to put it in perspective. Oh man, this is like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, uh, uh,
Whoever you think is the is the best running back in the league, Josh Jacobs. I got to shout out to Josh Jacobs just because he from my hood and we went to the same high school, hood high school, by the way. He didn't go to no private school. Shout out to Josh Jacobs and Kevin Durant and Deontay Wilder and just all the greatest athletes in sports all in one room talking about civil rights. That's what you thought this picture was about. And for the most part, it kind of is, but it's a deeper story than that. Let me tell you about it. First of all, this meeting was not set up by Muhammad Ali. It was set up by that goofy looking Caucasian standing over Muhammad Ali right there. That's Bob Arum. He was the white, old school version of these boxing promoters that you see now. He basically revolutionized, the big money boxing promotions industry. Bob Arum set up this meeting because the boxing industry was hemorrhaging money with Muhammad Ali becoming Muhammad Ali, following the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and willing to lose his career to stand on what he believed in. Every major fight, it was fighters who almost wanted to retire. The George Frazers and some of them wanted to retire themselves because they didn't even want to win the belt because they knew everybody was going to be like, well, you didn't beat Ali to get it, so you ain't a real champ. So all the fighters wanted to fight Ali. The sport, he was the Michael Jordan of the sport at the time. They begged this man to put it away. And so what Bob Arum did, he got him in a room with other athletes, black athletes that Muhammad Ali may or may not respect. And here's what they wanted to do. Bob Arum came up with an idea. Bob Arum originated the system that we know now as pay-per-view. He used closed circuit television to televise boxing matches. And it was such a cash cow. This was like almost how cryptocurrency is today. It was new, people were making money, but a lot of people didn't quite believe it would work. Remember, this is before pay-per-view. So Bob Arum said, listen, Mohammed, I'm going to make you a part owner of this business venture. And then I'm going to make these other athletes also a part of this new closed circuit television business venture. So you can make money even beyond your sport. Remember, Jim Brown, who's seated right next to Muhammad Ali right here, he was already retired. Jim Brown only played 9 years in the NFL, which is normal for a running back. It's one of the toughest positions to play because you're getting hit every play. That's why a running back is considered a senior citizen by the time he's 29. The prime of a running back's career is between their rookie year and 25, 26 years old. So Jim Brown was already retired, so they were actually meeting to talk about how they can make so much money on the closed circuit television deal, but the deal wouldn't go down unless Muhammad Ali signed off on it. But they tried to trick Muhammad Ali into coming and telling them, we're going to meet about civil rights and your beliefs. Now, Jim Brown had very sincere intentions. Bill Russell, that's the brother that you see seated to the far left, he had sincere intentions, but not all of them did. They were there to talk about Bob Arum's closed circuit TV deal. This wasn't just some meeting. Hey, brother, hey, what's going on, man? Hey, man, you know what it is, man. These jive turkey crackers, man, trying to hold us down. Let's come together and do something for the black man. That's what you thought this was about all these years, didn't you? So did I. But I did some research and I found out this meeting was set up by Bob Arum. But see, that brother sitting down right there, that's Muhammad Ali. He's a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with brother Muhammad Ali. But I want you to read a couple of quotes from this meeting. This is from brother's last name Davis.
who played for the Green Bay Packers at the time. He said, my first reaction about the meeting and about Muhammad Ali was that he was unpatriotic. This is one of the brothers that's standing behind him right now. I'm going to show you who's who. I'm going to show you who's who in a minute. I'm going to show you who's who. This is Willie Davis is his name, of the Green Bay Packers. My first reaction was that it was unpatriotic, Davis of the Green Bay Packers said, referring to Ali's anti-war stance. Davis was one of the three men in the room who confirmed Aram's version of the story, which was that it was about a business deal, not about black civil rights. And then McClinton, pay attention to the lineup at the bottom. McClinton, hmm another player named McClinton, a halfback for the Kansas City Chiefs, was a member of the Army's active reserves at that time. There were players in the NFL back then who were still enlisted in the military. He told Ali that while he respected the boxer's religion, it was important to remember his nationality too. McClinton said he told Ali, hey man, all you do is get a uniform and you be boxing at all the bases. Remember, this is the deal that they offered Muhammad Ali, that the messenger told him to reject. The deal was he would go ahead and go to Vietnam, but he would only do USO shows where he'd go and coon and tap dance and do little boxing exhibitions, but he wouldn't actually fight. But he would be used for R&R and to raise the the tone level of the soldiers and all that. Those USO shows, they usually invite famous women to go out there and perform and all that. Say, hey man, all you do is get a uniform and you be boxing at all the bases around the country. Your presence on military bases gives that motivation to military men. Now, I got to show you this. Those are the quotes of these men right here standing behind Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown. And I want you to read the facial expressions of every face in the room. And the facial expressions match how they really felt about this meeting. Look at Kareem over there on the right, looking confused, like he don't know. Should I obey my master or should I? Yeah, you hear how he's talking right now. He's telling Kyrie that Kyrie need to stop playing and go ahead and take the vaccine. Now look at Jim Brown, the sincerity on Jim Brown's face. Look at Muhammad Ali. Look at Bill Russell. The meeting went on for hours, but Ali never budged. When it was over, Brown led the group to a news conference. Jim Brown. There's nothing new to say, Ali announced, perhaps recognizing that reporters expected him to make big news by backing down from his anti-war stance. See, that proved that even the media knew that this was a farce that somebody set up for all his brothers, so-called brothers in sports, to talk him into, come on, man. Come on, man. You messing it up for all of us, man. You messing up our piece of chicken. Other participants says they were convinced Ali was sincere in his religious conviction. But listen to what Bill Russell said. Bill Russell is arguably one of the greatest. He's not even arguably. We always talk about rings in sports. Don't nobody have more rings than Bill Russell. Listen to what Bill Russell said about Muhammad Ali. In an article written for Sports Illustrated after the meeting, Bill Russell said he envied Ali. He has something that I have never been able to attain and something very few people I know possess, Russell wrote. He has an absolute and sincere faith. I'm not worried about Muhammad Ali. He is better equipped than anyone I know to withstand the trials in store for him. What I'm worried about is the rest of us. Ooh, wise words from Brother Bill Russell. That's him sitting down on the far left next to Muhammad Ali. So that's the truth about this meeting. You know, you talk about the spook that sat by the door. You had some coons that was tap dancing by the door. In fact, most of them in this room, they were planted in this meeting in order to convince Muhammad Ali to come back to boxing so they can all get this little check that they were promised but not guaranteed by this Caucasian right here, Bob Arum. And I'm going to close with this. When it comes to these black celebrities and athletes, they will disappoint you, but Allah will appoint you. What's the difference? Stop being disappointed when you hear about somebody failing the Farrakhan litmus test and all of that. Don't stop it. They will disappoint you. Only Allah will appoint you. What does appoint mean? To assign a job or role. I like number 2, to determine or decide on a time or place. Allah got a job for all of us to do, even the coons and hypocrites. The celebrities and athletes will disappoint you. Stop sitting back and waiting. I wonder what Kyrie gonna do. Or I wonder what Colin Kaepernick gonna do. I wonder what this one gonna do. It's gonna be a Kyrie next year. It's gonna be another Kyrie after that. Remember the making of a sports slave. That's what you're dealing with. They will disappoint you, but Allah will appoint you. And my whole purpose for doing this topic is because it does not matter, these athletes, how good they are, what they doing, what they standing on, what they agreeing with, disagreeing with, whether it's they're going to take a vaccine, whether they're going to go and fight in a war, whatever it is it's going to do, the winners will always be the ones that stay true to their faith. Like Bill Russell said. I'm going to go back to Bill Russell. Bill Russell said, I'm not worried about Muhammad Ali. He is better equipped than anyone I know to withstand the trials in store for him. What I'm worried about is the rest of us. He said Muhammad Ali has an absolute and sincere faith. And he proved that. Making dua in the ring in front of the world with no shame. No shame whatsoever. And then you have Kyrie making salat. Yeah. That's called Tasa Ahud, or Ata'ayya. He's exploring Islam as we speak. And this was him praying right before a game. So that's where I am when it comes to sports, man. I enjoy it just like the next man, but I have no faith in none of these players. They will disappoint me. They will disappoint you, but Allah will appoint you. And with that said, I'm going to sign off and I'm going to leave the last word to my teacher, my criterion, and I miss the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm going to leave y'all as I greeted y'all in the words of peace. Thank y'all for holding it out with me. It's kind of late show today. Had some other stuff to take care of. But make sure y'all go to NationTownStore.com. Also, keep in mind we have a payment plan on NationTownStore.com. You can buy $150, $200 worth of stuff and break it down into 4 payments by way of a agreement that we have with Cash App. All praises due to Allah. Shout out to Cash App. But go to NationTownStore.com and check it out. But I'm going to leave y'all as I greeted y'all in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And I'm going to let the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan get the last word. Y'all be safe.
The world never honors, the world of wisdom never honors basketball players. The world of wisdom never honors football players. The world of wisdom never honors song and dance men. You've been clowns and buffoons and sport figures too long.